In this video, I'm going to further discuss unison tuning concepts and consequences, comparing the ideal math model with an actual recording made on a real piano. I'm going to use 2 unison strings rather than 3 strings, so that there is no bias of 2 strings in tune which are overpowering a 3rd string which is out of tune. I'm then going to show the actual waveforms of the in-tune unison with that of the spread unison and play the actual results in both cases as it comes off the piano in a real recording. The first figure here shows an ideal model of a decaying sound over 10 seconds after the hammer strikes the strings. The y-axis in the figure is in log amplitude in decibels, while the x-axis is in linear time over 10 seconds. An ideal exponential decay appears as a straight line in log amplitude. The red curve under the blue line is from 2 strings being spread by 1 cent. A 1 cent difference at 525 hertz, that is the C5 note, that difference is 0.3 hertz, so that the half-wave period difference of the last 2 strings is 1.67 seconds. Every 1.67 seconds, we see and hear a null, followed by a rise, followed by another null again, as every half-wave of the difference in frequency between the 2 strings is from waveform cancellation. This rise and fall is psycho-acoustically perceived by some piano tuners as a desirable effect, as the brain is being tricked into somehow thinking that it is a bloom when it is nothing more than a comeback from a null. The brain is also tricked into thinking it improves sustained power, but that is impossible. It only sucks power out, and the comebacks only trick the brain into thinking the power is increased, but in fact is dramatically decreased. From the graph, at the null points, the power in the ideal case is 10 decibels greater, which is a factor of 3. The second figure shown is from a direct recording off an actual piano. Not surprising is how well it matches the characteristic of the ideal model of the first figure. After about 1.5 seconds, there is a 10 decibel drop, or a factor of 3 drop in power, at the first crossover of the half-wave cancellation. At the next 1/2 second, or a 1 second time marker, the power comes back some, but still about 3 decibels down. Then at time marker 5 seconds, the power is again down 10 decibels and rebounds after time marker 7 seconds. Now let's hear the 2 sound files. I will play first the one where the strings are in tune, then play the one where they are spread. In each case, I will play the sound for about 10 seconds. Here is the sound file of the one where there is no spread. Now here is the one where there is a 1 cent spread. Now watch the waveform picture while listening again, and what you'll hear is the one with the spread has a wow, 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 kind of a nasally sound to the waveforms canceling and coming back and canceling and coming back, whereas there's a whole fat sound that's very steady and rich with the one that doesn't have the spread. Let me conclude by saying that there's at least 1 or 2 veteran concert level tuners that I know who actually prefer the sound of the spread unison in this example I played. And I'm not here to tell them they should or shouldn't prefer something subjectively. I believe that they hear it that way and prefer it that way because they've been trained to tune that way and to hear it that way. But I'm here to show the actual math and physics of what is really happening. And there's no way to actually create a so-called sustain and bloom effect that they actually are probably hearing psycho-acoustically, but in reality, it's actually counterproductive to producing extra power and extra sustain.